mean, were you scared to do this book?
By the time it came for me to write it, I wasn't as scared, but with the first time when I started sharing, before I started writing it, started being open and honest with my story, for sure was scared. I mean, that was one of the things that I felt like kept me in the chains of addiction throughout my high school life, was the fear of what people would think, the fear of what my dad would think if I tried to bring him into the fight, I guess. You know, I would go to a Christian sports camp every summer, and one time, you know, I worked up the courage to share with one of the directors that I was addicted to porn. At that point, it had only been 2 years, and one of the biggest pieces of advice and encouragement that he gave me was, I want you to go home. I want you to share with your dad. Your dad loves the Lord. Your dad loves you. I want you to share with him and bring him into this battle. And I was like, oh, no way. Like, because I was a few things, but I was scared of I didn't know how he would react. We had a pretty good relationship. I didn't want to mess anything up. People had an idea of who I was. I didn't want to ruin that either. And because of that, I was just like, no, I'm just going to keep it in the dark. And I mean, fast forward, I cost myself another 3 years of being in the thick of addiction. And it's like, who knows what could have happened if I would have brought my dad in earlier on. My story would probably look completely different. But I remember it wasn't until I had a really radical encounter with the Lord where I got set free from addiction through a dream that I had. And after I moved out of the house, after I was down in Branson at a discipleship program, I had this encounter in 2015, in November 2015 with the Lord that set me free. And it's been, I guess, this upcoming November, it'll be 5 full years. But during that, it wasn't until after that, and I had about 5-6 months of freedom, that I worked up the courage to share with my parents of the lifestyle that I lived. And really, the only reason I shared with them right then is because we were at this Christian conference, youth conference down in Branson, and one of the speakers was going to share my testimony from the stage. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want them to hear it from him first, so I'll break the news to them. And but that was super scary. It was scary. It was scary whenever I did it. But let me tell you this: the fears that I had were they were so unjustified. The way that my parents, which were really the first people in my family and friends that I really was open with about it, they were just they didn't react any way that I thought they would. They were so gracious. They were so loving. It didn't change the way that they felt about me. I don't know, all these different lies that I had in my head were lies concerning how they would react. But really that opened up this entire door for me because of the space they created in relationship with me, to be able to the love that they showed me in relationship with me, that before I knew it, all my sisters knew about my testimony. My extended family, my cousins, my aunts and uncles, my grandparents, my different friends of mine, and I started becoming open with my story, and it was the most empowering thing for me personally, was being able to be open. And what it did was it made it easier for me to walk in sexual purity, is what it did, because I didn't have to pretend that I was Superman and didn't have these sexual desires rising up in me. There's been different times throughout the last 5 years where if I'm around my dad and I feel a heavy sexual temptation on me, I'm able to say, hey, Dad, I need you to, I'm struggling right now. I feel the temptation of the enemy. I want to watch porn right now. I want to masturbate right now. And you're going to hear some of those intense words tonight. It's okay. We'll just get them out of the way. We'll probably use the word masturbation or orgasm, and it's going to be all right. We're going to get through it. But I'm able, whenever...
We could focus on that last one. They felt uncomfortable a little bit right
no,
there,
it's all
so-
good.
Okay.
No, but like even being able to say those words with my dad and different brothers, different family members has absolutely changed the game. One time I heard somebody say that darkness is a petri dish for sin, and like the exact opposite is true. Like the light just like breaks this like power off of darkness, off of temptation. Like if I'm with a brother and they're feeling the temptation to watch porn and they just tell me, or they tell someone, they get it out into the air, all of a sudden it loses so much power. It doesn't mean that's like the answer, but like that's like such a powerful thing it's no longer in the darkness, it's exposed. And so yes, it was scary.
Well, what I love about what you're saying now is that it broadens this context. I mean, at the end of the day, what we're talking about is sin, whether it's sexual sin or any other kind of sin. You know, we're talking about sin, and the devil's tactics are all the same. So maybe not everybody out here or online with us today is struggling with the same temptation, but the enemy's tactics over whatever the struggle is remain the same, and freedom looks the same. And so one of the biggest things that I think is neat about what the Lord is kind of saying is, like, there's freedom for whatever you're walking in. There's freedom. The enemy wants to bombard you. It wants to make you feel like you have to stay in the closet because, well, what would happen with your reputation otherwise, and all these other things. Yeah. And your struggle is yours alone. Nobody else is struggling with that, and you're going to have to deal with it alone. But what I'm hearing you say is, no matter what you're dealing with, there's such power in coming together with other believers to be able to break you out of that darkness, to put light into the darkness. And
absolutely.
So whatever it is you're struggling with, know this, that Jesus wants to set you free tonight. Whatever it is, whatever it is.